Good afternoon and welcome to another episode of the Star Wars Minute. It's your daily show in which we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate Solo, a Star Wars party 1 minute at a time. I'm Alex Robinson from alexrobinson.fun.
I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
And I'm Jeff May from patreon.com/Jeff May. That's not a sad website to say out loud, right?
Never.
Hey,
It's the best.
me.
One of the best
podcast-
websites to say out loud.
I got to be honest, I like it a lot because it pays my rent.
Yeah.
Which I like that. No, I it's me, Jeff May. I'm a podcaster. I do shows like You Don't Even Like Sports, a sports podcast for people who don't like sports. Unpopular Opinion. Tom and Jeff Watch Batman on the Gamefully Unemployed Network. And of course, Jeff Has Cool Friends, which is my interview podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And others. You guys know. You know me.
We know
Sure.
Oh,
You're
they
the guy
know
from
you.
that show.
Yeah.
It's Tuesday.
It's
Tuesday, and we're talking about it, minute number 97, hot 97 of Solo, a Star Wars story. Minute number 97 starts off with a close-up of Chewie's hand pumping coaxium, and then a shot of Lando's hand giving Han the finger of friendship.
The finger of friendship.
That's fun. That's fun. We have fun. We that's how that finishes, right? Do you think that was the finger?
I don't think it was. I just kind of wanted to revive the controversy about whether or not. I don't understand why he gives them one finger. It seems almost like he wasn't allowed to give him the finger, so they're like, "Oh, just point with one finger."
Right.
I think it's the "Don't test me" finger, like the
Could be.
like that. That when you put up and be like one more word.
That's a very
One
Han
more
Solo
word.
finger.
That's where he got the idea to do it.
Yeah.
Well, because there was that controversy when Finn gives BB-8 the thumbs up, and then BB-8 put the lighter out, and people were like, "Can you believe BB-8 gave him the finger?" It's like that is not what happened. What movie were you watching?
I like that because it continued the is Han wearing a blue jacket or a brown jacket controversy. It's nice having these ambiguous things that even like seemingly objective things that people cannot agree on. You know what I mean? I
think some people wish that Star Wars was going to have a middle finger in it.
Mhm.
And it's just like, buddy, I hate to tell you, but
I feel like it eventually
It'll
will.
happen.
Yeah.
Oh, it'll totally happen.
I'm not happy about it, but I know
There
it'll
is
happen.
nothing which is cannot be degraded and sold out to for in pursuit of the almighty dollar.
Disney has some waters to test before that, you know?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well,
It'll
do
be
you
like Marge
think-
Simpson not noticing how slowly the Fox network turned into a
Right.
hardcore pornography channel.
Did do we think that maybe in the shot that Donald Glover did give the finger, and then they digitally moved his finger over to make it so it's not giving them finger because it was like, you know,
It's
we can't really do that.
The Solo special editions.
Right? Yeah.
I wish it was like Clue, where they were like, depending on which version you saw, he would be shit like what country you saw it in. It would be different gestures depending on what country it was in, or I like
He
that.
does the two fingers up.
Yeah, exactly.
Oi!
Or you could do something like in sign language, spell out like, F. Ron Howard, or something like something.
The Scientologist.
Efron,
Yeah.
I was going to say Efron Howard, the slightly less famous Scientologist founder.
Yeah.
Efron.
He's the alternate. What were we talking about? Not the who was the Hydrox earlier yesterday? Who was yesterday's
Dash Rendar.
Hydrox?
Dash
Rendar.
Rendar,
There you
yeah.
go. So Efron Howard is the Dash Rendar of Scientology.
Whereas
There you go.
Zach Efron Howard is the heartthrob of Scientology.
Exactly. It's on all the cover of the teen Scientology magazines.
I do like how Han bragged about his Kessel Run immediately.
Yeah.
I like that too.
And there's also, he's saying, it's like, hey, I just did it in 12. And Chewie's like, and he's like, well, not if you round down. So it's more than 12.
But
And
not if you
so-
round down.
Over time, it becomes less than 12.
It's that ties into the thing I brought up yesterday about I like the idea of Han being sort of like a full of crap kind of, low diet con man.
Yeah. It's true.
When you say diet con man, I picture him selling like,
Dexatrim.
milkshakes and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, just seeing him push ephedrine to all these people on what is it, Severine?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he could sing a little song about it.
And it goes a little something like this.
Well, speaking of, I'm jumping around a little bit, but since we were already talking about the scene with the finger, I have two things to talk about. One, he's like, I really did want it to be a musical because I wanted him to say "what never," but he didn't. But then also, I think that he's not giving him the finger because he's wearing a fancy kind of 2-finger ring there. And I don't think he can give somebody the finger unless it's the other hand.
Oh.
Maybe he turned around and he's wearing it. But he's wearing like a 2-finger, like a ring that bridges 2 fingers. And you see it. It almost looks like he's holding something because his fingers have to move together when he's gesturing.
Yeah.
And so I think it's almost like a chastity belt for not giving the finger.
It's a modesty belt.
Yeah, there you
go. He'd have to take his ring off if he wanted to give someone the finger.
Right.
So maybe he took it off while he was walking away and then did the finger.
Yeah, we call that the classic ring finger, even though it doesn't involve your ring finger.
Yeah, right. Well, to zoom in and enhance it and see if this is going to blow this thing right wide open.
One of the little like fan nods that I was like, this one I'd prefer not to have is when Lando goes, "I hate you," and Han goes, "I know," and I was like, nah, all right.
Well, here's some. What were you going to say?
Go ahead. I was going to take the opposite. I love it, but go ahead. Tell me about it.
I was going to say that, I wonder where this happens in The Empire Strikes Back. And I hope you're sitting down because in the special edition, "I Love You, I Know" happens in 97 of the film. Literally happens the same minute in Solo. So
I like it more now.
I liked it okay because I thought it wasn't overdone as like a fan service thing. It wasn't like a big moment. It was just kind of like a quick passing thing. But now the fact that it happens at the same minute, how can you know? I'm sorry. As a minute by minute podcaster, that has to take precedence over everything. Yeah.
There's a lot of Easter eggs that I really loved, but I would have liked to, and some I didn't even mind. I didn't even mind the Solo.
What were 3 you loved?
Terrascasi.
Mm-hmm.
Terrascasi is that reference to me. Like I exploded out of my chair to the point where everybody in the theater is like, what's wrong with this guy? I loved how they sunk in Phoebe, why am I forgetting her name? Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character when they made her the nav computer. I thought that was really great. And I actually really liked how they did the Kessel Run.
Okay.
And those little nods, I thought, to like sort of seal everything up and to sort of Easter egg out and make sense of all that stuff, I liked. But that I know, I was like, that's supposed to be a special response to Leia.
I guess it goes back to our formula that there's, in any given movie, there's 15% too much fan service, but no one agrees on what everyone has different opinions on what is too far, too much, whatever. Right. So.
This is, in my opinion, by the way, this is the most fun Star Wars movie. I won't say it's the best Star Wars movie, but it is the most fun by kind of a lot. You don't necessarily feel bogged down by this movie. Like Rogue One, I really liked, but man, I wouldn't call Rogue One fun.
It's downbeat.
No. Called Rogue Fun. No.
Right? This one's fun. I really enjoy that aspect of it, and I love the Lando and Han interactions.
Yeah,
except for this line.
I mean, correct, but like because Lando starts getting like he's what does he say? He's like, "I'm going to be on my ship in my quarters, waiting for you to bring me my share, and I never want to see you again."
Yeah, which he does see him again later in the movie. Spoilers.
In a big way.
Yeah.
What? Don't ruin it for me.
He should have turned it. He should have been like none of everything you just said is wrong. Because by the end of the movie, it's not his ship. He will see him again.
Just like the prophecy foretold.
That's the real Yeah, that's balance to the Force. That's balance to the YT-3000 Force.
Oh, and he doesn't get his cut because he doesn't wait around. So none of what Lando just said happened, other than he's in his quarters.
Wrong about everything. Well, we don't even know. Maybe he got sidetracked on the way. I love the shot of the Falcon when it's on the landing pad there, and they're looking down at it, and it's all wrecked. Because first of all, like I said, I love seeing battle damage Falcon. I love the fact that it looks very much like a matte painting. It looks it like they're not zooming in on it and trying to make it look it looks like a classic Star Wars matte painting. And it also reminded me, it evoked the cover of Han Solo's Revenge. Because as a kid, I would look at pictures, any Star Wars pictures, like obsessively, and on the cover of the Han Solo's Revenge, the Falcon is the artist drew it at a very peculiar angle where it looks like it's like one of its landing gears broke off, and it's like you can see more of the top of it than you should be able to from that angle based on where Han and Chewie are.
It's like mugging for the camera a little bit.
Yeah, and so that's what this kind of reminded me of. When I looked at them back to back, they're actually tilting different ways, but so I don't think it was intentional, but I nonetheless I did like it. Is there insurance in the Star Wars universe? Is Lando insured for all this?
I mean,
or is Kessel Run kind of like, well, you voided your insurance by, it's like riding your car like through a forest.
Stole it from impound, so that also might that might be a thing too. I'm not 100% sure.
But in general, do you think there is insurance?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
probably.
I guess every ship we see, most of the ships we see are either the government or criminals. So it's all the X-wings are all criminals. So we don't really know of it. We don't know of too many non.
But I think that only references the people that are actively engaging in an active civil war, in which there are the majority. It's like the whole thing with following Star Wars, and it's like it's just one family's drama. I'd like to see more things be taking place, like the Mandalorian. He's legally operating that ship and just doing his own thing.
Oh yeah, so he's probably most likely of all the characters to be insured.
I would think so. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because the bounty hunters seem like it's a legitimate. They have a guild. They have like legal status stuff.
Yeah, they're in the union.
So.
Yeah, they're in a union.
They probably have to have like disintegration insurance.
No, no disintegrations.
Well, yeah, that's why in case it happens, you gotta make sure. It's like the Affleck of
disintegrations.
No disintegrations.
Yeah.
No, I definitely like that. What I would have loved is like when he's walking back, if just like the headlight of like a 1989 Chevy Celebrity wagon just fell out, like a car's headlight fell out of the Millennium Falcon.
Totally.
It was like, did they have that there? Does it seem like, would that work in space?
A headlight?
Total flashback tangent to, there was in high school, somebody was in, like, they went to go get lunch and they were in a car accident, and they were fine, but their car was kind of wrecked. And they were just kind of walking around the hallway holding a headlight. And we're like, Steve, why are you holding your headlight? And he's like, for insurance. And we're like, what? And like, we couldn't figure out what he meant.
Was he in shock?
It's possible.
That happened to me one time. We took a friend to lunch, and a woman, like this old woman, pulled out of a parking space and just smashed into the side of my car and totaled it. And then we were late to get back to school, and the teacher wouldn't we missed half of a test because of that. And the teacher wouldn't let us take the test because she thought we were skipping. And I was like, I was in an accident, you absolute ass.
You should have brought in the headlight to prove it to her.
That's what you got to do. You got to bring the headlight
in. The broken headlight. That's how you get out of your test.
Classic.
Little advice there, kids. Take it from us.
Your earlier statement about the cover made me just do a quick research. Han Solo's Revenge, the cover is by Dean Ellis, and it's an awesome, there's a preliminary art version. Somebody posted a preliminary cover of it, and it looks like maybe that's why it looks so weird, because I think he did a preliminary, like a first pass preliminary one, and didn't have reference for the Falcon, so just drew like a spaceship, like a Buck Rogers kind of spaceship almost. And then notes came back from Del Rey or Lucasfilm or whoever, and they're like, "Oh no, here's what it has to look like." And he just tried to kind of make it into that same space.
That's really funny.
That cover is wild.
I love that cover.
I've like forgotten about that, but that cover should be on somebody, like that should be a blacklight poster. That cover.
Totally
should be airbrushed on the side of a van,
right? Should be airbrushed on the side of a YT 3000 freighter.
But one thing I do love is early off-model Star Wars. Looking back at it now, especially because it wasn't, people didn't have Google image search and stuff, that, those Star Wars classics, Marvel Star Wars comics. I hated it as a kid, but I love it now looking at it, how off-model everyone is, and and they clearly,
just Howard Chaykin doing his best.
Yeah. So
just absolutely hating that he had to do that.
Yeah, and I like the Mad Magazine guys were talking about, like, they would just have to, like, go back and watch it over and over again to like bring sketch pads and notebooks in order to get like jokes and art down.
Yeah, man. Which is really incredible to me, that the fact that they could do those awesome, like Mort Drucker could do those awesome caricatures without, I mean, obviously he probably looked at some photos, but
Right. Well, there's that photo of the girl from 1977 that made herself a custom X-Wing costume for Halloween, and the way she did it was she literally just kept going to Star Wars to sketch out every part.
Wow. That's crazy.
And this was like a 16-year-old in 1977.
Wow. I'm sure she's finished it by now, though.
Maybe.
No, it's a great, it's like a really good costume. It's like relatively screen accurate. Like she looks like the first member of the 501st.
She's like a a charter.
So the one
everyone else is just a tourist. She's like, I didn't have a pause button.
Yeah, it was just called the first back when she was in it.
Yeah, it was called 75 cents at a go.
And you could stay all day.
Right.
Well, that's all I have for minute number 97.
Well, I do. I was going to say I do. I like how it's also the I hate you. I know. I like how he's kind of utters it. He like almost whispers it. It's not like
I know.
It's not like I know. It's like you could have it be like I know, like womp 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 womp.
Yeah.
But
it's like,
just
dude, I know. Instead of like real pushing it.
Totally. They just go into, then it becomes like Han and Lando's Excellent Adventure. Like, I know! And they're like, and they go off and have adventures.
They play like space jizz.
Right, yeah.
Like air jizz.
Air jizz.
Yeah, apparently this scene originally, he was supposed to say, I hate you, and then Alden Ehrenreich was supposed to say, I hate you too. But then they're just like, let's improvise. Let's try a couple of different things and see what happens.
And that's why Lord and Miller got fired.
Yeah, exactly.
I really want to see what they were going to do with it.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been so fun.
And they seemed, here's an idea for free, Disney Plus, if you're listening. You, just like the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2, you can take whatever you have of the Lord and Miller stuff, put it together, make it a Disney Plus series, make it like we were talking about. Like, oh, speaking of which, this, I think it was yesterday's minute. Yeah, yesterday's minute, because the end of the, if you're making Solo into a series, end of the Kessel Run, boom, they make it through, the Carbonbergs close, cut to black, end of the episode, new episode here, start out with the air traffic controller, and you're like, what's going on here? What is here? And all of a sudden you hear Han Solo coming in over the radio. Perfect opening to a show.
Good. That's a great episode start, yeah.
See? So that's
like a Breaking Bad level of how an episode would start.
We've been marking off when I think this is so far the 4th episode that we're starting right now, right? Because one ended with basically each act. Like one ended with them escaping Corellia and getting his name and all of that, and then another one ended with the
heist.
The
heist was part number 2,
and then the whole Kessel Run bit. And so this is episode 4 is starting right now.
Yeah.
This is episode 4.
Episode 4. A New Hope.
Yeah, it's like Quentin Tarantino with The Hateful Eight. He did that movie, The Hateful Eight, and then he did basically divided it up into a series by expanding on it, and so it would be like a similar thing with Solo. Yeah,
let's do it with Solo, with the Lord and Miller stuff from Solo.
Release the Lord and Miller cut. You know who we should do is we should harass people on the internet about it.
Let's be angry at anybody.
How about a petition? Maybe petition.
Let's be angry at Disney and demand something. Oh,
right.
No, there's already a group of people that do that, and they are not good people.
Yes, I was talking to a guy recently who was a huge Disney fan and just got around to watching all the Star Wars recently. like had Disney Plus for years because he's a big Disney fan. He likes Disney stuff, but and I guess I'd say like he's got lots of Disney tattoos and stuff like that. He's like it seems like, and he's around our age.
Disney
Seems like he
fan,
would have been the kind of guy who would have been into Star Wars, but just kind of never got it and got really into Disney stuff. And it's an interesting
It's like
alternate.
Black Cauldron. That's as dark as all go.
Yeah,
Fascinating.
so
Or Black Cauldron.
that's a good stretch right there. You got Black Cauldron, Black Hole, and Black Panther. You could just queue them all up, do an alphabetical threefer.
That would be the weirdest 3 movies to watch in a row. Do you know how high you'd have to be to watch all 3 of those in a row?
All of it.
Yeah. Well, then it's the good part. Then you get at the end, you get you get to look at Wakanda and stuff and be like, whoa,
Whoa.
well, I know, dude.
Yeah. Dude, I know. Yeah, it is definitely one of those situations where how did you not? Because I know sometimes I don't do that thing where I get mad when people haven't seen a movie, when people are like, how could you have never seen this?
No.
But if somebody like that is like, I've never seen Star Wars, I'd be like, okay, how could you have never seen this? Like that to me, I'm like, all right, I'm a little mad. You're covered in tattoos of Disney. You are, 44 years old. How did you miss it? Like you have to dodge that. Like that's not a I never sought it out. That's an I actively avoided it like I'm Neo dodging bullets in the Matrix.
Maybe that's his thing. Just like the most interesting thing about me is that I've never seen Die Hard. Maybe he's like, that's my thing is I've never seen Star Wars. That's going to be my identity. Not Star Wars guy.
It's Big Lebowski for me. And the reason for that is because it makes terrible dudes so angry.
Yeah.
When you got to see it. I'm like, I'm not gonna though. And they're like, but you and I'm like,
why don't you see it and just tell them you didn't see it?
I would prefer to just never see it. I don't need it. It's the weight of its own hype is already too much.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about Die Hard. So
this is again far afield, but we I'll try to bring it back around. Here I got a segue all queued up for the end of it. That was one of the biggest swerves. I was going to see Lebowski at a midnight showing, but in I can't even think of what year it was. So it was, not recently, many years ago.
Long time.
I had seen it in the theater when it came out. I liked the Coen brothers and I thought it was great. And then this was like, oh, good. Get a chance to see it on the big screen again. That'll be fun. And that was my first exposure to just like the front row was full of frat boys in bathrobes with they had brought a Nalgene bottle full of White Russian, and they were just yeah.
What a weird version of an ardent fandom.
Yeah.
That's such a strange thing because it's not like Rocky Horror Picture Show where you can all interact and scream together.
Believe me, they tried.
Yeah, but of course they
Jackie
did.
Treehorn, that kind of a thing. But
yeah, that's got to be the movie equivalent of a Dave Matthews concert. Of which I have been to many, by the way. I'm not using that as an insult. I have been to more than a dozen of those.
Interesting. Well,
I graduated high school in '99, baby. You can't avoid them at that point.
I'm going to turn this around. Speaking of theater experiences, where did you first see Solo? Did you saw it in the theater, I'm assuming?
I saw Solo at the AMC Burbank, and that whoever, and I had a problem with it in that it was weirdly dark. And then I read an article, and basically the conceit of the article was the cinematographer should sue AMC because apparently AMC wasn't using the proper bulbs for projection. So a lot of they were like, here's what it looks like for real, and here's how it looked in the movie theater, and it was totally different. It was so much darker in the theater.
Not buying it.
You don't have to.
We're watching it on Blu-ray, and it's a very dark film.
Yeah, there was something about it where it was some kind of problem where it was shot really gorgeously, and then it just did not translate well. So I saw it at the AMC Burbank. I did enjoy it. Was very excited when certain I don't want to spoil anything for the people that are watching this movie a minute at a time, but when certain characters show up at the end, I was very excited.
You're talking about that weird alien that's at the poker game, at the Han Solo card game?
12 Eyes.
Yeah, you know him.
Yeah.
Huge fan.
Yeah.
Well, because I used to play the Star Wars card game.
Right.
So I like being able to name all the obscure characters that they show up in their race and what system they're from and everything.
Who are some who would you give us some characters that you love that have not gotten that you'd like to see show up? You must know obscure characters
like
that
Jasper, I think would be a really great character to see more of. I feel like God, what's his name? I'm forgetting his name. Cad Bane. I feel like Cad Bane could have just been Jasper. And they just decided not to. So like from the card game, like I always loved the Cantina aliens and wish we could have gotten more from them other than just like one anthology book.
Yeah.
I really did love, like, I think Trinta Dwaba would have been a cool one. I think Dice Ibagon. Lax Sivrak, he was fun. He's cool.
Did you call it, is Dice ever, is that the doctor? Wait,
no, that's Dr. Avazin.
Who would you say?
Dice Ibagon. It's the thing that looks like a mangled genitals that's talking to Lax Sivrak in the original.
Right.
Oh, yeah,
pops
that
up
one.
and like, yes.
Yeah. You remember.
Yeah.
I also love, like, I would love a Tales from Jabba's Palace series. Would be so, because like everybody in Jabba's palace, and when I rewatch Return of the Jedi, I love to see how like even the droids want to stab you at Jabba's palace, and I really like that about that place. The Jabba's palace scene's one of my favorites, especially when Luke gets so frustrated that he can't fool Jabba that he steals a gun to shoot him in the face.
Yeah,
I think this is so funny to me. Because you can tell he's still a little impatient, where he's just like, "You'll give him to me." He's like, "I'm not gonna do that." And he's like, all right, give me that gun. And they like grab the gun.
That
at
was
the
the
last
extent
minute.
of my plan. Yeah,
Yeah, like because that was, if nobody grabbed his arm, he would have just shot Jabba in the face. And I think that's so funny.
End of movie.
But I do.
Directed by Richard Marquand.
I love the bounty hunters. I mean, IG-88 sort of has gotten erased from sort of most people's caring because of IG-11. I'm sorry, IG-88 wasn't voiced by a Wunderkind director. I'm actually an IG-88 collector. If you,
to me, that's actually the best of both worlds, because we still get the cool remoteness of IG-88, but we get to see what it would have looked like if he was doing stuff. So it doesn't ruin the character, but it's like the same way Mandalorian was kind of, it's Boba Fett, just in a different.
A friend of mine
above your
wrote
head there.
for a Star Wars cartoon, and they asked me what I really wanted to see, and I was like, IG-88. And it worked. It got in, which is great. Nice. If you can see directly over my head, I actually have, you probably can't see them too well, but there's like, I have the giant IG-88.
Gentle giant.
I have the gentle giant IG-88. I have the Force Unleashed IG-88. I have the original 3 3/4. I have the Power of the Force 2-pack version of him, as well as a bunch of other little IG-88 treats that I keep.
That's cool. I also love IG-88. Yeah. I don't know.
So I would like to see him. Those droids are terrifying when you see them not just standing there, but when you see them actually in motion, and you're like, this is absolutely terrifying.
Right. Yeah. When it's a prop, it's one thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's it. I mean, so I guess the answer to that is literally every character. I think Star Wars is one of the only, I think it's the only property where the secondary and tertiary characters are infinitely more interesting than the primary characters.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, to a great extent, because a lot of people played with their own toys and stuff, or in this case, the card game. So they could kind of make up their own stuff about it, rather than whatever we see on the screen,
I used to make I could never play the reason I was always really well ranked, but I never was like a particularly dominant regionals winner. I'd always make it to the finals or whatever. But the thing is I was too obsessed with theme decks of like making a stupid deck. Yeah. And it was just really funny to me, or I'm like, I'm going to make a Jawa deck. And it would surprise people. And then at the end, you just get overpowered by somebody who just bought all the best cards and whatever.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I don't know if Emperor Palpatine versus 22 Jawas is really going to be
But I'd like to see it.
right. I sure would.
Yeah.
But stuff like that. I always used to do gambling. I always used to play Sabic. So which was great. So I'd put like Lando and like on the Cloud City casino, and I'd put him in an AT-AT to protect him, and then I'd take him out and gamble with him, and then put him back in the AT-AT.
Nice.
We have good times.
Yeah.
Man. And also, I guess the card game was largely not prequel. It was pre-prequel, right?
They covered up to episode 1.
Okay.
So episode 1 is covered.
Okay.
And then with episode 2, they sold.
They lost the
Lucasfilm
license.
went with Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah.
They made a vastly inferior game. The customizable card game by Decipher is still incredibly popular. The cards are incredibly valuable. I absolutely should be selling them, but I'm too tied to that game for the 7 years that I played it.
I remember we were talking about this, and I am inspired to look through this attic and see if I do. Last time I remember seeing them is 2 moves ago. So if they made it here, then I have a lot of them. Possible that they didn't make it. So we'll see.
Death Star 2, from Death Star 2 on, and even Endor to a lesser extent, but like the later runs, as in any collectible, the later runs are always the ones that tend to be more valuable because it's at the end of a run.
People stop caring.
They're not as... But like all the episode 1 cards tend to be like really valuable, or like the late reflections, or Jedi Luke and stuff. They're like worth a ton.
Wow.
Even today.
It's weird.
So, well, thanks for that insight into the card game. That's one area I really know very little about. So it's nice to be able to get that.
It's funny because you do like games and you like card games.
I bought it at one point, but I had no one I knew played it, and it's impossible to learn how to play a game like that without someone teaching you firsthand. At least in my experience. It's
Where did you grow
difficult.
up?
I grew up in Westchester, a suburb of New York City.
Okay, so yeah, you would have been. Well, I mean, to be fair though, you actually a lot of people would have been playing the game. It's just you didn't know them, so you would have had to find a local tournament. Which is what I ended up doing. I ended up going because I was in the Kashyyyk region, which is New England. And so I would go to the Greendale Mall. This is a very 90s sentence. I would go to the mall, and play in the food court and eat Panda Garden. Orange chicken in between playing these tournaments.
And Nirvana.
They are because the game started 95. It went 95 to 2002.
Okay, so post Nirvana.
Yeah,
that makes sense. That's
a lot of like OMC's How Bizarre would be what would be like. We like to pretend that we were listening to Nirvana at the time, but we weren't. We weren't. We were listening to John Cicada.
Well, while we're listening to John Cicada, we'd also like to hear from you, dear listeners. You know what we do? We set up a telephone number just for you to call, 8-Day Greedo. Just call that, dial that on your phone, and you'll get our hotline and leave a some kind of funny, ideally short message we can play before the show, maybe about something that's upcoming. How do you feel about, let's say, the final fight between Dryden Voss and the gang that's coming up? We like to, that's something. If you need a topic, tell us your opinion about that. Tell us your opinion on what's this guy's name who plays Dryden Voss? The Vision?
Harvey. No, not Harvey Korman.
Harvey Korman. Tell us what you think about Harvey Korman, and hopefully we'll use it on the show. 8-Day Greedo. Give us a call and check us out here tomorrow on another Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.
Paul Bettany. Yay.
Paul Bettany.